to avoid it than to just kill myself. I don't know why my head went that way, but that's what I decided to do.
Welcome to my story. It's a pleasure to have you today in studio. Um, so we're just going to jump into it and get the origins of who you are and your background and your upbringing, and then we'll go from there. So, how was your upbringing growing up?
Okay, thanks for having me, by the way.
Yes.
My upbringing, so it originated in Arlington, Virginia, which is where I was born. Um, I grew up in a very big family, so I have 29 aunts and uncles from around the world, which my grandmother decided one day that God had told her to adopt. So my mother is from Chile originally, Santiago, Chile, and she moved to America when she was about 14. And there's actually a whole community based in DC for the deaf. So there's a school called Gallaudet, and then they also have a school garnered for elementary, middle, and high schoolers, all on the same campus. And that's where everyone went. I was the first grandchild born into the family. So my background growing up was very diverse. It was very open-minded and very loving. My mom was not around much, so it was really my Nana, my great-grandma, and my grandma, Linda. So my Nana is Lottie and my grandma is Linda, and they both raised me pretty much up until the age of about 9 or 10. It was sometimes hectic, it was sometimes great. You know, it was like everything all in one. Like, it wasn't really a bad situation to be in. I mean, other than not having my mom and not having my father, not knowing who my father is, and my mother was just, you know, had her own stuff going on where she just couldn't be there to raise me or be around to support me in any way, shape, or form. So I always had that void that I was wanting to fill, but luckily being raised in such a big family, it didn't really faze me for a while until maybe I remember in elementary school, I want to say third or fourth grade, somebody had asked me where's your dad? And I just looked at them and I was like, I don't know. I don't know where my dad is. And then I didn't even get to say I don't even have my mom in my life because it wasn't their business. But that's really the foundation of who I am or why I am the way that I am is because of my grandma and Nana and just how they've instilled my faith, which is Christianity, believing in Jesus Christ and that he died for our sins and that he loves us and that we're forgiven and loved no matter what.
Yeah.
So yeah, American Sign Language was my first language growing up. I learned English in elementary school. So I'm fluent in American Sign Language. When I sign, people think I'm deaf because of my antics and nuances when it comes to the language, and I think that's pretty cool.
Did you learn this by being a child of deaf adults?
Yeah. So I'm a CODA, so that means child of deaf adult, and because all my aunts and uncles were deaf, and they also were being raised by my grandmother, even though I was the grandchild, I was still living with everybody. So my grandma actually bought 6 condos in Arlington and broke down the walls and just made it one big condo. So it was a 12-bedroom, 14-bath unit. And everybody shared a room. We all ate dinner at the same time every day. We went to church on Sundays. Sometimes we go to church on Wednesdays. We were all involved in extracurricular activities during the week after school, and it was very busy, but we all had structure and support and love. So I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah. So, growing up, when did, and I know we spoke to some length, around that 9-10-year-old phase, how did that happen as far as being with them and then ending up, and I'll let you speak to it.
Yeah, of course. So at 9, my mother became pregnant with my second youngest sister, Ashley, and she came back to my grandma and Nana's. So at the time, I think from like ages like when I could start like speaking and praying, which was probably around like age 4 or 5, my Nana would always tuck me in bed at night and pray with me. So I started to pray for my mother in hopes that, you know, she would come back, because that's all I really wanted was my mom. I never felt that emptiness when it came to my father, I guess because I had no attachment or understanding of who he was or is. But with my mother, I knew that I had a mother. I knew that I was in the household that belonged to my mother, and I just wanted her with me. So I would pray for her, pray for her, pray for her, like every night. And then at age 9, she finally came back. So I thought it was God's answered prayer to have her back in my life and to finally, hopefully, like get out of my grandma's home and have our own home together with whatever she had going on. But, you know, that was just like my 9-year-old dream at the time. And so she was pregnant, she had my sister, and then lo and behold, some things just started to transpire inside of me where I was feeling way older than I should. And I was ready to just like take the leap of like getting sexually active.
What age was this?
This was like age 9 or 10. So one day I met a guy, and I'll kind of like talk about this just like indirectly because I don't want to like really rehash it in detail per se. But I met a guy. He was a lot older than I was.
Like over 18 type of
Over
older?
18, yeah. But like in his early 20s, but I was 9, so. But I also was, I'm not justifying this, but I was like tall for my age, and I've always kind of looked the same. So met a guy, was like super infatuated, and like had this like love at first sight type of interaction with him. We exchanged information. I gave him one of the numbers that I could use at the time in my household, and we ended up deciding to meet. We met at first. Although I was prepared to have sex, I didn't anticipate having sex that soon or that early. I thought there would be a lot of get to know each other and spend quality time and, you know, stuff like that. But we literally, as soon as I walked in the door, I think he gave me like something to drink, and then I walked into the room and took my clothes off, and that was that. And I remember, you know, like age 9 or 10, when we were done, he made me walk home by myself. So I remember feeling this like sense of just like disgust and guilt and shame for having done what I did, and then also just not being like protected in that sense where I just gave something so valuable and precious to some person, and he couldn't even have the audacity to like at least make sure I was home safe. I saw him maybe 1 or 2 more times after that, and luckily I had a best friend who lived in like a city about 20 minutes away from me. So we met in school, and because I had her friendship and her family support through the friendship, I wasn't necessarily at home all the time to have to dwell on that situation. And one time I was at her house sleeping over, and this is when AOL was like popping, like AOL chat, AIM.
Yeah, I was on that.
So I had an AIM account, and he knew what my AIM account was and reached out to me and wanted me to leave my best friend's home to go hang out with him. And I know what he wanted me to hang out with him for, and I was like, no, like I'm having a great time over here. We're eating pizza, we're watching movies, we got moon bounces, like I'm chilling, like
being a kid.
Yeah, being a kid at 9, 10.
Like
So I'm like, no, I'm not coming. And then he like blackmailed me with these photos that I let him take of me when we first had our encounter. So I'm like sitting at my friend's desk on AIM, and she's in the bed like on her phone or like doing something, and all I see are like these photos of me like naked, like, and I'm like scared. I'm like, oh my God, like this, you know, I'm like, what is going on? Like, why is he being so
He sent them to you
He sent them
to let you
me.
know that he has you in these compromising.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. He sent them
Wow.
to me, and I was just like, what? Like, I don't know what to say. Like, I already told you no, I'm not coming. He offered to pay for a cab. I said, no, like, it's not happening. I'm not interested anymore. And eventually, I just like turned the monitor off. I didn't even like exit out or anything because it just happened so fast. When I saw the photos, it just freaked me out. So I turned the monitor off and I like got in the bed and just like went to bed. And then I go back home, you know, like still just living life regularly. My sister's probably like 6 months because it was like Christmas time. And I don't know, like I was just feeling really sad and like kind of suicidal, but I didn't know what suicide was. I was on the phone with my friend, and yeah, I just felt this weird sense of like awareness where I knew that what I had done was wrong, and it was like just, it wasn't, you know, gonna be something that was gonna be good if my family had found out. And I had this like gut feeling that like somehow somebody found out, and I was like scared to death of my grandma and my nana. Like obviously at that age, knowing what I knew right from wrong and just being raised in a, you know, Christian household, like I knew like I would be in trouble for the rest of my life, like, and I just did not want to face that. So I thought, what better way to avoid it than to just kill myself? I don't know why my head went that way, but that's what I decided to do. And so I grabbed a whole bunch of pills, and I overdosed. I ended up in the hospital, and the police came, obviously, to investigate what had happened, and my mom showed up. And I remember waking up out of like my little mini coma and seeing my mom like walk into my room, and she was like, "You stupid bitch, like why would you do that?" And I was just like, ugh, like I'm still here, like I don't want to talk about this. So eventually I just told the officers like I do not want to go back home. I really do not want to like face the music. I'd rather just go to my best friend's house and chill there until I can figure it out. And it wasn't like my home, like it wasn't like I was for sure under the impression that they were going to kill me, but because I lived in such a big household and everybody's adopted and from different parts of the world, it wasn't like always safe. It was a lot of like sex stuff going on. Like a lot of people were hooking up with each other. A lot of people were fornicating and doing all types of stuff.
The kids in the home,
Mm-hmm.
not the adults, right? Or was it
No, just the kids.
just
Yeah.
the kids? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you know, we're young, we're experimenting, we're curious, and we all know like no one is related. So it's like, who cares at this point? Which is how I like justified it later down the line. But I know that it's still wrong. So yeah, it was just, I didn't want to go back to the house because like I just did not want to keep being touched. I did not want to keep being harassed. And I tried to bring it to my Nana and Grandma's attention, but in return I got in trouble for it. So I think that one time when I did try to bring it to their attention as like a way to like almost save me and like get the, you know, just the whole situation like under control, like, and then for me to have to get like a spanking or whatever it was, it just made me feel like very less than and little and small, and like my feelings and my experiences didn't matter. So I think that's why I took it as far as I did when I did try to kill myself, because I just felt like there was like no solution to the situation. And then CPS got involved. And so I stayed with my best friend for maybe like less than a month until she realized, I guess, that it wasn't going to work out because there was really no space made for me. It was almost as if, you know, they were willing to take me in for a temporary amount of time, but they weren't like literally ready to change their entire life to cater to a new, you know, child who needs just as much love and support as the rest of their kids that they had at the time. And, her and I, we had similarities. We looked a lot alike. We went to the same school. We liked the same things. We were on the basketball team together, but with the jealousy kind of coming underway, it just wasn't going to work out.
And you guys were getting older at the time.
Yeah, we're getting older, you know. So yeah. I'm sure she had her set of friends as well as I had my own set of friends. And I'm sure just like being in close corridors with your best friend is cool and dandy, but when you're that young and you don't know the reasons behind why she's even there in the first place for that long, like it gets kind of like, okay, like I see you, like we're going shopping, we're eating out, like we're doing this and that, but this is my mom or this is my dad, like, and I'm not even there to like call them mom or dad. I'm just there so I don't have to go home. So I ended up in foster care officially after I left her home. I stayed with the family in Arlington because that's where I'm from. So the county originally tries to keep you within the same jurisdiction or area from where you're originally from before, you know, they start to realize within my case that I just wasn't as stable as they could have anticipated. And so eventually leading from the first foster home to when I aged out of foster care at the age of 17, I was in like 6 or 7 different foster homes throughout the state of Virginia.
Like northern or southern as well?
Yeah, like, well, not too southern, but as far as Stafford goes.
Okay.
So, yeah.
How was, so being in foster care at that young of an age, going from like with your grandmother, I believe, and being with these kids that I would assume that you relatively, even though y'all not related, you know them, you know your best friend at the time. What was that like mental or psychological just shift? Like, how did you deal with it? Because I went to, when I was younger, I was in a group home. It was like for, I want to say half a year, I believe, because I was just really bad. So they was like, you're gonna go to this boys' home and whatnot and what have you. But even that 6 months, it was like something that I had to like really get used to. So I'm just hearing your story and imagining the foster care for six different places. How was that as a kid, like navigating that this current reality now?
Yeah, it was hard. It was, I mean, thankfully I had a lot of faith, and so I didn't really question a lot. I was just more so like, okay, if this is where the direction of life is taking me, then so be it. I definitely shut down, and they did put me on medications for like anxiety and depression and like a mood disorder. They never specified what the mood disorder was or whether, you know, it was a form of bipolarness or what, but I just was like, saw a psychiatrist one day, told them, you know, how I was feeling, and then they just put me on medications. So not that the medicines ever worked, but I will say that being involved in extracurricular activities, which for me was volleyball, like helped immensely. If it wasn't for me getting involved and being on a team and having a routine and having discipline and structure and like the drive to stay active and be healthy and be one of the best players, I probably would have, I don't know what would have happened. But
So you're saying that the medicine that they give people when they ascribe them these mental conditions didn't work, but sports did. Mm-hmm. That's powerful.
Yeah.
Like that statement, like really think about it. That's like, you know, because we got this thing in society where we're just throwing pills at people.
Exactly.
You know, and
that's exactly what I felt like. It was just.
It's like it's almost like it's like a Band-Aid kind of, but it's not really getting to the core of the thing. And I don't want to be long-winded and whatnot, but I read this book by Viktor Frankl called The Will to Meaning. And in the book, he kind of talks about that. Like he was like seeing his patients and stuff like that, because he's like a psychoanalyst, kind of like a philosopher. made the book The Foundations of Logotherapy and stuff like that. But nonetheless, he was basically saying like, no matter how much medications we gave them, the only time we seen results in people is when we got them to find meaning in life. Like that's the only time he was able to quantifiably see them get better, when they found like some type of purpose or meaning in their life. The pills just was like
a Band-Aid, like you said.
Yeah, like a Band-Aid, just turns him to a zombie.
It just
shut
me down. Like I had like no emotions. Not that I didn't have any emotions. Like I still cried like at night sometimes to myself, or whatever. But I was very shut down in a sense where I didn't want to like open up to anybody. I didn't want to get too close, because I always had this feeling that like, even though I'm in this predicament and I'm in these situations with these strangers, that the least I could do is show them, respect, decency, and, like high and by. So it was very high and by for me, which probably affected me a lot because of the fact that I wasn't able to develop or nurture any type of relationships, because I just intentionally did not want to become exposed to that type of interaction while I was like really, really hurt. Like I was so hurt that it had gone as far as it did, and that there was no reconciliation for me to go back home, because I really had anticipated and trusted in my mother to make a way. Like even before I went into foster care, I had hoped and trusted that she would make a way to get me out of that situation. And then when I was in foster care, I had trusted and hoped that she would still make a way to get me out of this situation and get me back with her. And
were you in contact with her? Like, did you all communicate while you was there?
Not really. I mean, it was hard to communicate with her because I didn't have a phone. And then she also gave up her legal rights. So when she did that, it just kind of like cut off the means for her to communicate with me in any way. Not having a phone was a huge, disappointment, but the judge actually had made it an order to ensure that I would remain safe. And I'm assuming, I guess, because of the guy that I lost my virginity to, like maybe it has something to do with that, and she just didn't want me like being exposed on the internet. But yeah.
How much do you think that situation that happened when you were 9 with that older man, you look at the dynamics of the situation, I can imagine that, one, you feel like taken advantage of, in a sense, like as you look at it in hindsight, because I know you, because as kids, we think that when something is happening to us, it's kind of our fault. Mm-hmm. But looking at it in hindsight, it's like, well, not really, I'm 9, and even if I, was promiscuous, you're like in your 20s, mm-hmm. You're not supposed to take that bait regardless.
Right.
So how do you think that informed like how you thought about like just being around people? Because I can imagine like that would, because I'm hearing you speak, and I can imagine that coloring how you look at the world. Mm-hmm. As far as like, I don't know if I could trust this guy who's the other guy at this foster, maybe he's going to be like the guy, that was, or I don't know if I can trust these people because maybe they're going to just act like it's all my fault, like how my, mother and then was yelling at me when I was going through things, So do you think just your like early experience, that's really, really young, 9 years old, it kind of put you in the shell as far as like when you were navigating life henceforth?
Yeah, as a teenager, for sure. I did not really date like that. I was always the new girl, from having to switch to so many foster homes. So I would get like attention in the beginning, like, oh, that's the new girl. Oh, she's the one with the curly hair. Oh, she plays volleyball or whatever. But I never had the maturity. Like I just didn't have the emotional intelligence to develop anything with anybody, not even really friends like that. I mean, thank God I had my volleyball team, and thank God I was like a decent student, but I felt like I had so much baggage that it was hard to form friendships, because it was like the tell-all of like my demise and how I even ended up where I'm at right now. And so I didn't want to like tell people. I didn't want to lie, so I just didn't like really engage that much with as many people as I could have, given the fact that I had been in so many different schools with so many different, you know, people that did give me that kind of attention. I did date a guy in like freshman, sophomore year, and it was promising, but at the time, I was in
This is
Woodbridge.
when you were in college?
No, this was no,
in high school?
High school, yeah.
Okay,
My freshman
gotcha.
year of high school.
Mm.
So at the time, one of my social workers, I also had gone through like different social workers and different therapists. It was always like a transition. I was just so tired of like having to like readdress who I am, or how I'm here, why I'm here, all of these things. So I just kind of like, just was very superficial. But around 9th grade or 10th grade, I was in a relationship with this guy, and my social worker had come to me and was like, do you want to get adopted? And I was like, sure, like, why not? You know, because a family would be cool, and I think that's probably a good place to start, is to feel, you know, adequate and safe and secure with the actual family that would want to take care of me. And so I went with it, and I was on NBC's segment that they had every Wednesday, I believe, which was called Wednesday's Child. And so I did an interview with a news reporter that's pretty famous in the area. And we had an interview where we went to a rock climbing center, and I just like climbed some rocks and got to talk to her, and was just like, yeah, I'm Gabi, I'm this age, I really would like a family to, you know, have as a family. And I mean, it was so long ago, I really don't remember. Like I said, I was on medicine, and I just wanted a family to call mine, and that I knew would never abandon me or neglect me or leave me. So at the time, I really did want that, but it worked out. I was staying with this lady, and she was actually she was like awarded like best foster mom of the year. I don't know if it was for the whole country or if it was for the state, but she was awarded that, and she literally was the best foster mom I've ever had. She used to make me laugh so hard, and she would cook the best meals ever. Like, that's when I like got put onto like fried chicken, and like her favorite best dish in my opinion was this like type of meat. I don't even know what the meat was, but she would put a lot of like onions and black pepper and seasoning on it, with some mac and cheese, and I think some like sweet potatoes. So good. Like,
That sounds good.
it was so good. I loved her so much. She was so sweet to me. And like, I remember for Christmas, she made sure that my Christmas was special. Like, she didn't make much money. She was just a foster mom, but she still went out of her way to make sure that I had gotten the shoes that I wanted, which at the time were like these sparkly silver Toms, and I wanted them so bad. And I think I got like a laptop and like a whole bunch of stuff like for Christmas. It was so cool. I was not expecting that, so I really appreciated her and our time together. But then it was like right in that transitional period where I had put myself out there to be adopted. So there were so many inquiries coming in that it was going to be a transition from that situation to a lasting home. And so I was sad. I didn't want to really go, honestly. Like, if I had known that I could have just been happy there and didn't have to go through everything I went through with the adoption agency and people, I probably would have just been just all right there, and I would have been cool, and life would have been all right. But what happened was I got acquainted with a couple families. I did a couple like home visits with them. One was just a couple with no kids, and then the other were a couple with like 3 kids and like a foster kid at the time. So I knew that my mom. Can I get a tissue? I'm sorry, my nose is running.
I got you.
Thank you. Sorry.
So good.
I chose the family with the kids because my mom had kids, and something in me just always told me like I still want my mom in my life, irregardless of like what had happened and took place. Like I still had this like really strong pull to my mother, obviously, that I didn't want to let her go. I didn't want to abandon her. So I felt like a family with kids would be more understanding of like still allowing me to have that relationship with my mother, because she would still come to like court hearings and like meetings that I would have with the social workers, which was like mandated every month, and she still showed up. So even though she did like give up her legal rights, she still showed up, which meant a lot to me. And so I chose that family. I was like back and forth like during the summer, but right before my sophomore year of high school. So they would engage with my foster mom at the time, and I remember my foster mom, she was like, I do not like her. She's like, she is crazy.
Speaking about your mother?
The adopted people.
The adopted people?
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
okay.
I was like, oh God. I kind of saw it, but I bypassed it because I was just thinking, she's like overprotective. She's, just wanting to make sure I'm okay. But, and I'll just leave it at that. But I still went with it. I decided to move forward. I did, develop a bond with the parents and with their children, and we decided to go ahead with moving in. So I moved in like right before sophomore year of high school started, joined the volleyball team, got on varsity, and it was cool. Like I had a great year. My grades were not that good. It was kind of hard to balance like being on the volleyball team, going to therapy, trying to get acquainted with this family and really like become like a part of the family. Excuse me. And also like travel throughout the year when the season in high school was over. Like it was just a lot to balance for me. So I tried my best. I stayed there for like a year and a half. It did not work out. And then I ended up like going to a group home. So I went to this group home called Youth for Tomorrow. And honestly, it was like the best decision I could have ever made. Not that I actually made the decision, but it was the best thing that could have happened to me. It was similar to my original family's upbringing, where because it was a group home, it was like so many people from different backgrounds, and it just reminded me of my home. At first I went in there thinking like, why am I even here? Like I'm not a bad kid. I make decent grades. I'm on the volleyball team. Like I don't get in trouble. I have no charges. But in a sense, like they just literally ran out of foster homes for me to go to. Like I don't think anybody wanted to take me in at that point. So they put me in a group home, and I stayed there for like 10 months, and I was informed that if I did not graduate high school by the time I was 18, that I would have to stay until I graduated high school. My birthday's in October, so I'm like a late baby, whatever they call it, like in the school year terms, like I would have graduated at 18 in like 6 months. So I did not want to wait another 6 months just to graduate high school and then be told like I can leave the facility. So I ended up like doubling up on my courses. I was taking ASLs and electives, so that helped with like my credits, and also Spanish, and ended up graduating like a little bit earlier than I had originally thought I would have, and I graduated as valedictorian of my class.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
And
This was in high school?
This is at the group home.
And I'm talking about with you when you graduated. It was I basically what I'm asking is, when I think about valedictorian, I think of like a college. They give that in high school?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Because and this is like, because I did like 1 year of high school and just got my GED.
Oh, really?
So like I don't really know too much about high school, but I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's a big honor, man.
Yeah, it was really dope. I
Yeah.
got a scholarship. I got a $40,000 scholarship from the group home to go to college, and then I also got accepted into this Christian college called Valley Forge Christian College. The year that I had went in, they were changing their name from a private Christian college to a public university. So there was a lot of transitions going on over there when I did arrive, and I also was accepted into the women's volleyball team at D3 level. So it was like all these great things were happening for me, and it was amazing. The medicine regimen they had me on was like working, I guess, enough for me to be able to just like continue moving forward. It was just a lot of support that I received at that group home, where I truly felt like I was prepared and able to like accomplish anything I wanted. So I was working 2 jobs after graduating. I worked at a water park as a lifeguard, and then I worked as a team member at McDonald's. And I would just like keep myself engulfed in work because I did not want to be at the group home just chilling. Because I was getting ready for college and I needed money and I needed to save up and I needed to make sure that I was just staying busy and focused. And so then I finally went out on my own and went to college, and then that's when I met my boyfriend at the time then.
You met him at the Christian college?
Yeah, he was on the basketball team. So you know how, or I don't know if you know, but like when you are on a sports team, you, in college at least, you come to the college or campus like a couple months early to start training.
Oh yeah.
So we both were like it was like, I think it was like the basketball, volleyball, and like soccer team or whatever other sports were around on campus that were the only ones on campus. So I kind of got to know him a little bit. He was a lot older than me. Mind you, I'm 17. He is 20. He's 7 years older, so he's 24. But it didn't matter to me, you know. Like I didn't look at him as like old or older. Like we were just there as freshmen in college, trying to like do our thing, and I just really like gravitated towards him because I thought he was cute and he had like a nice sense of style, and he was on the basketball team, so I appreciated that he had some sort of drive and like, you know, desire to stay busy. I also worked at McDonald's when I got to that campus, so I started working at a McDonald's like down the street, and like in my free time I would just be working at McDonald's just to get, you know, money. I did end up maintaining a relationship with that adopted family throughout my time in college for that first semester. So when Christmas hit, they had invited me to come over. So I decided that I was gonna visit them and just like show my respects and like hang out with them and spend time with them. And eventually, when I arrived, I realized that they had gone to Florida for their one of their daughter's soccer tournaments. So it was literally just me at the house. At the time, I got acquainted with this other guy who I met through Facebook, and this was when I was on Facebook and it was like on and poppin', and like I had a lot of like people that I was friends with, and he reached out to me and he was like, yeah, like if you ever want to use my car or, you know, have me take you shopping or whatever, I even have another young lady that's close in age, you guys could become friends and things like that. And I was like, sure, I'll consider it, but I don't think I'm going to. But yeah, I ended up like linking up with him, and I met the girl, and her and I became like best friends, like white on rice. We were so close. And so that's who I ended up hanging out with like during that season of my Christmas break. I did anticipate going back to college, but as a result of like my poor choices, it didn't work out for me. So I ended up one night taking my adopted parents' car without their permission, and I invited my friend that I met through that guy to go to DC. Like I think Fat Trail was gonna be performing at a club or something like that, and we had she had known people that, you know, got us in the door at 18. Like, I'm 18 going to 21 and over clubs. I don't know how it happened, but it happened. And then we got super drunk, of course. We went out to eat with them. And then on my way to go park the car, as I'm parking, there's like a group of guys like approaching our car, because I think we had the windows down. We're blasting music. You know, I'm drunk, she's drunk. We're probably dancing in the car, like all excited because we're gonna go eat and like do all this fun stuff. And yeah, I just like went off. I don't know why. When I get drunk, and this is why I don't drink like that anymore, but when I get drunk, I have like no filter. I will say it how it is, how I feel, and anybody could get me from 0 to 100 if you like knew how to work my nerves. Like, there's no like me controlling it. So, especially at that age. So I ended up trying to like tell them to like go somewhere, like, you know, go on about your business. We're not interested. We don't know y'all. We're not trying to get to know y'all. But I said it very aggressively, and they're looking at me like, okay, and then they like walk away. And then lo and behold, an hour or two later, when we're done eating, I come outside, and the entire car is keyed from like side to back to front, and it's just like keyed all around. And then on the hood it says MS-13 with a smiley face, and I was like, oh my God, like,
Wow.
yeah, like that's when my big ass mouth gets me, like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? It was like so bad, and I'm drunk, so I don't even have like, you know, the time to process it like how I really should have processed it. Like, it was bad. So I call my uncle, who is this brother of the adopted mom, and I'm like, you know, Uncle, this is what happened. What do I do? You know, like, I don't have any money. I'm about to go back to college in like 5 days. Like,
And this is not your car, correct?
Not my car either, no.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, so I'm like, what do I do? He's like, you have to call like the mom and like tell her. And I was like, okay. I really loved my uncle at the time. Like, he was a God-fearing man. I say he was, like, as if he's not around, because he's not around in my life, I'll say that. But like, I'm pretty sure he's still alive. So he is a God-fearing man. He used to always talk about God and like offer to take me to church, and like, you know, he just was like on his stuff. Like, he had a great job. He went to college. He was doing really well. So I always looked up to him. And yeah, that happened. And so I called him. He tells me to call her. I'm like, all right, I'm going to call her. I'm like, hey. I was like, how are you? I was like, how's the trip going? And she's like, what's going on? And I'm like, so, you know, I took the car and I went to DC and something happened. And she was like, what? She was like, you stupid ass bitch. She was like, I can't believe you fucking did that. She was like, I'm going to fucking ruin your life. I'm going to make sure you never get your shit together. Like, just went off on me. And I was like, oh my God. She was like, you need to get the fuck up out of my house. Da 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 da. So I was like, damn. I only got like 5 days left before I go back to school. Like, I don't know where I'm going to stay. Like, it just like broke me. So, and just to hear those words like come out of her mouth, like, also just really hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
You know. And then
So how did you like after the situation happened, like she got her car back, I'm assuming, right?
yeah, I put it in the garage. Like,
In that condition?
Yeah.
Here's your key car that has MS-13 with a smiley face on it. I'm sorry.
It wasn't like damaged. Like, there was no. It wasn't like any.
It could move.
Damage. It could
operate.
It was great. It was great.
Yeah, why are you so mad for? It can.
Yeah,
you can still drive.
She had insurance, I'm assuming. Like, it could have been fixed.
Yeah.
But the way she went off on me, and then what she did after, like, was just not fixable.
What did she do? Like, what she said?
Was she what?
What did she do afterwards?
So what she did afterwards was she ended up calling the dean of women's at my school. and ended up pressing charges against me. So she
Oh,
told,
what?
yeah, so she told the dean of women's that
Pressing charges against well, not a kid, but
I was 18. I had just
yeah,
turned
but
18.
pressing charge.
Yeah, so
I don't know who
I know.
listen, lady, that's lame. I don't know if you want to see this, but that's just lame. It's an 18-year-old. We press charges on, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, she called the dean of women, told them what happened, and they did not want me to come back to the college because it was a Christian college, and they didn't want that kind of trouble. I'm assuming whatever she told them, it was
So
bad.
not only did she press charges, she snitched on you.
She snitched on me.
To the college.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and
Wow.
made me lose my education.
She must have been really mad about that.
She was angry. I mean, when she said, "I hope you never get your shit together," who says that to somebody at that age?
And then she actively went to try to make sure that didn't happen.
Absolutely. Yeah, she was not playing. Like,
it's just mind-boggling to me because when I hear stories like this about like certain human beings, it's like I can't even imagine doing that. So it's always like it's interesting but sad at the same time. It's like, come on, man, this is an 18-year-old. You're like a mother figure to them. What the hell are you pressing charges on them for? It happens. Right. You know how many? I know so many like people that tell me like they wrecked their dad's car or wrecked their mom's car. You just gotta swallow that. You got insurance. Get a new car, like you said. She has insurance, bro. Like you're going to get this covered up somehow.
Right.
But this doesn't mean you F up my whole future and start telling the deans of women and because this car is going to get fixed, but my future is my whole life. You know, I'm sorry, but that's
that's true.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, come on.
It's true. So I get to talking to the dean of women. She's like, yeah, we don't want you coming back. I was like, all right, well, guess I got to figure it out at this point. So I had no idea what to do. I ended up meeting this guy. Well, so I was staying with that guy, right? The one that offered me to use his car and the one that introduced me to that friend that I went out with that night.
Was he like a sugar daddy type?
Yeah, he was trying to be a sugar daddy.
They're all over the DMV. Yeah.
Yeah. He was trying to be a sugar. I never gave him no sugar. I have had sugar daddies that I have given sugar to, but he didn't get no sugar. So, but he was really cool. Like I really liked him.
Oh, I'm sure. Nice guy.
We had a good friendship.
But yeah, So
I'm staying with her. I'm staying with my friend because she's staying with him. That's her sugar daddy, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not taking no sugar or giving him no sugar except for like whatever I can reap off of through their relationship.
Gotcha.
Kind of thing. Whatchamacallit? So then her and I just continue partying. Like we just kind of like go about life like nothing happened. I still knew I had a court date and I was going to show up. I had contacted one of my former teachers who I still had like a close relationship to, and that person ended up connecting me to a really great lawyer who did my work for me for pro bono. So I had representation and I had support, and he really looked out for me, and I ended up getting the charges dropped from felonies, which was grand theft auto and something else, to misdemeanors, which just basically were damages to a vehicle and unauthorized use of a vehicle. So I'm staying with her. I'm miserable. I'm not in school. I don't know what to do with my life.
When you say staying with her, did she have her own place, or were you staying with her in like a...
No, her and her sugar daddy.
So she was living with him?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she had her own room and everything.
Doing big things.
Yeah.
At 18, that's like, yeah.
Well, she was like a few years older than me, but
okay.
Yeah. But yeah. She was all right. She was taken care of. So
yeah.
Yeah. So what happened was, I just lost my mind. Honestly, like it was a lot to deal with, and I had a drinking problem. Like I would just go out and drink and continuously drink and black out drunk, wake up the next day, take a shower, get ready for the club again, do the same thing over and over for like Sunday through Sunday. Like, and I was in Stafford, so I was driving from like Stafford to DC like every day.
Wow. Just
to party, like no purpose, no substance, no guidance. It was miserable. at the time I was having like the time of my life, but like in hindsight it was like a really like hard time to get through. I think I was just trying to cope with like not being able to go to college anymore, losing my boyfriend, dealing with the law enforcement in that situation, and ended up meeting this guy that I met at a house party with that girl, that friend that I had at the time. And I don't know what it was, but the moment I saw him and I looked at him, I was like, ooh, girl, I was like, that's my husband. I was like, ooh, he's so fine. Like, he looks so good. I've never seen a man look so good before. I mean, then. So I was like, ooh, I gotta get to know him. I need to know who he is. I really was like infatuated, and I had so much love for this guy. Like, I wanted to be his wife, like no questions asked. My young self. So yeah, I started to get to know him. He took a liking to me. He had a girlfriend at the time, which, I mean, there's so many red flags. Like, I just was living so fast that, you know, I didn't have time to sit down and process anything. And so we are hanging out here and there.
Was he from Stafford or from
No,
like?
he was in Richmond. So this all
Gotcha.
happens in Richmond now. We're in the Richmond times.
Gotcha.
So we're in Richmond, and he's going to school at like VCU or some community college or something like that. And he's living in like a nice like 3-bedroom apartment with some of his cousins, and they're all going to school. But like, I wasn't going to school. I wasn't working. I was dependent on anybody who would like take care of me, and I just had no like direction like whatsoever. I didn't know what to do with myself or my time other than to like party and drink. And then so one time we go out on a date and this dude, like, we're at a bar in like downtown Richmond, and we start like drinking like Jägermeisters, and I think I had like 10 of them, like
10 Jägermeisters?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, so I got stupid drunk, and by the time we left the bar, he was like, do you want to go to my boy's house? It's right down the street. And I was like, sure, like anything for you, like I'm down to do whatever, you know? And so I'm like, yeah, let's go. So like, I'm drunk, we're walking, we get to the house, I'm like, hey, I'm Gabi. And then as soon as I get to the stairs trying to get to the bathroom, I just like throw up everywhere, like, and it was so much throw up. I felt so bad. Thank God they had wooden stairs, but it was so bad and so embarrassing. And so I like ran up the stairs to the bathroom because I had to keep throwing up. And by the time I got there, he's like, I guess he cleaned up the throw up. He was trying to take care of me and like give me water and like whatever. And then I'm like, you know, I don't want to say his name, but I'm like, dude, like, I'm tired. Like, I need to go lay down. I can't move. I can't go anywhere. I can't do anything. I just need to lay down. So I go into the last room in the hallway, which is like right in front of the hallway. Like, and there was like a couple rooms to the right and maybe nothing on the left. Or I'm sorry, a couple rooms to the left and nothing on the right. But like that one door, I just like went through it. And there was this big wooden bed with a mattress on it. So I said, you know, I'm going to go lay there. And so I laid there and I fell asleep. And then next thing I know, I feel my body like moving like back and forth. My eyes are closed, but like my body is like swaying as if like someone is like on top of me. So I'm thinking like, who else would be on top of me other than my date? So I'm like moaning, like trying to like wake up, but at the same time I'm like saying his name because it feels good at the same time, and I'm assuming like it's the guy that I went out on a date with that's sleeping with me. But something woke me up, and it was like a voice that I heard, where it actually was the voice of the adopted mom. And I heard her say, she was like, Gabi, like, you need to wake up. You need to wake up. And I was like, what? And I was like, I'm so drunk. I was like, no, I can't wake up. And then she's like, wake up. And then I open my eyes, and there's like this white boy on top of me, like fucking me. And I'm like, I just freaked out. So I just like punched him in the face, pushed him off me, and then I start screaming my date's name, and I'm like, come get me, like, what's going on? He comes running up the stairs, walks into the room, or runs into the room, and then looks at me. I'm assuming I had no clothes on my bottoms. I don't know what, I don't remember, but yeah, the guy's like standing over here, I'm standing here, I'm like, and then he's just looking at all of us, and I'm just like, are you not going to do anything? Are you not going to fight him? Are you not going to ask me what happened? What's going on? Like, nothing. We're all just staring at each other like deer in headlights. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, so I was like, whatever. I'm gone. I walked to the bathroom. We get an Uber back to his house. He asked me that night, like, do you want to talk about what happened? I was like, fuck yeah, I want to talk about what happened. And at the time, I'm feeling like very guilty. Like, I'm feeling like it's my fault. Like, I'm the reason why I slept with somebody else when I'm here trying to get to know you. And that's not my intention. And I would never cheat on anyone or try to do that. But, like, it literally happened. Like, I ended up sleeping with somebody else when I was trying to get to know this guy that I told you that I really liked. Like, I thought he was going to be my husband.
Well, let me just say this. I want to make this clear. To sleep with someone else means you said, hey, I want to have sex. It was like consensual.
It wasn't consensual.
You didn't
at all.
sleep with him.
No, I didn't. Yeah, he definitely did.
Yeah, he took advantage
Yeah, he definitely did.
Of a drunk, passed out girl.
Yeah, he definitely did.
Just want to make, like, you know.
No, I know. I went to like a lot of therapy and like had to like get over it. Like,
yeah. How was he taking it though when you were talking to him? The guy that you were dating?
Well, so we were in bed, and I think he at the time felt conflicted, and he felt guilty, right? Because here's his homeboy who he knows just fucked up, whether, you know, it was something that they discussed or agreed upon, like, wrong is wrong. So he just messed up. I'm aware about it. He doesn't know what measures I'm going to take, I'm assuming, so he's also scared. And, you know, feels bad for me because I'm, like, homeless. And so that situation did not last. I dragged it out for as long as I could. I mean, literally, as long as I could. Because I really wanted a future with him. I wanted him to be my husband. I wanted to have a family with him. I wanted to bear his kids. I just thought he was the one for me. And it didn't work out that way. And I ended up, like, getting into drugs. I, like, experimented with pretty much everything that summer. Because that happened in, like the end of January. Like, I want to say, like, January, like, 29 or something in 2015. So, I think it was, like, the next day or, like, a few days later, he brings the same guy that, like, did what he did to me over to his house. And, like, right as they're about to go out to some, like, festival or something. And I'm just, like, sitting downstairs in the dining area, like, just minding my business. And out of nowhere, this dude walks in, and I'm, like, at a loss for words. Like, I can't even think of what to say or what to do at this point in time. Like, I've never seen this guy. I don't even know his name, except for the one time that we had that encounter. So when I see him for the second time, I'm just, like, shocked. Like, did this guy really just bring this guy over here? Like, are they still really friends? Like, are you kidding me? Like, why am I still here if you're still friends with him? Or, like, what is going on? Like, so they didn't say anything to me. They just kind of looked at me, and it was crazy. I, like, ended up going upstairs, and it just became, like, my life. Like, literally, that experience, like, engulfed me entirely to the point where I couldn't function. I couldn't, like, get through, you know, anything, like, as far as, like, maintaining a job, or, you know, when I would get to talking, especially when I was drunk, like, that would be, like, the topic of the conversation. Like, it was just bad.
It was on your mind a lot.
A lot. Yeah, I was
Did
on
you?
my mind.
What were you doing to like get through it? Like, did you talk to anybody? Or
Eventually, I mean, I tried to talk to like some of my friends, and they would advise me to like go to like a nonprofit organization and like get therapy and stuff like that. Parts of me wanted to go to the police. Parts of me just told myself like God will handle it, and I just have to have faith. So, I anticipated that it would just like I would forget about it. I'd just like, all right, I'm just gonna someday I'll just forget about it. But like literally never forgot about it, and to this day, like I'm cool to talk about it now. But like before, I used to break down crying. I used to, especially when I would talk about it, and I used to just not be able to like maintain nothing for myself. Like imagine being able to work like 2 jobs and go to school and be on the volleyball team to like can't even hold one job without breaking down crying, because I would literally get flashbacks. Like I don't know how or why my brain worked the way that it did, but like I would get flashbacks of that same night happening, and it just like hit me of like it just all this shame and like guilt hit me, and all this confusion of like how to process it and how to accept it and let it go, and I just couldn't let it go, and it just like messed me up too, because like that was supposed to be my husband. And if it wasn't for that incident, who knows where we could have been. And so it just ate me up a lot. Fast forward, like later that year, I had a friend who passed away from a drug overdose. So it kind of like woke me up a little bit. I cried literally in his name for like 3 days straight. I could not stop crying because I felt so sad for him and his family, and also for myself and my circumstances and where I had gotten myself to be, just being so strung out on drugs and alcohol, and still not having dealt with the incident that took place earlier that year. I attended his funeral with my biological mother, and that's kind of when I got back into my faith, was because his sister was somebody that was like a grade older than me that I went to school with, and she was going to this church in Richmond. So I was like, yeah, like I'm gonna go check it out and see what it's about. So I attend, and literally it was like 5-hour service. Like it was the longest service I've ever been in, but it was one of those pastors that was just like a led by the Holy Spirit type of pastor who just had time. And so I was like, yeah, I'm never going back. Like I was like, way too much, way too long. But eventually I did go back under his like leadership for maybe like a couple months, until I realized that I just wasn't feeling it. But I end up like at rock bottom. I'm about to get evicted from my apartment because I can't afford to pay anything. Literally have like a date for like when I'm supposed to be vacated, and I just called my Nana, and I was like, Nana, like I need help. Like I promise I will do whatever it is that you guys want. Like I'll go to church whenever I need to. I'll get a job. Like I will do whatever I have to do, but like I don't want to be homeless. I don't want to be left alone. I don't want to be out on the streets. So she was like, okay, Gabi, like we'll take you back in, but like you have to like do what you say you're gonna do. And I was like, okay. So I moved back in with my grandma and Nana after almost 10 years. It was probably like 7 or 8 years of not being in that household, from everything that I had gone through to coming back home, and it was like bare. It was like everybody that I grew up with was gone. The only ones that were there was my aunt and her husband, and my other aunt and her like 2-3 kids, and then my grandma and my Nana, compared to living with like 15 aunts and uncles, and everybody was so young and stuff like that. So
how was that feeling finally coming back?
Okay, I know you've seen this, but you remember that episode with Will Smith when he like shows up at the house and he's like, hey, and no one's there, and he's just like, yeah, it was like that.
That one when he was when his father left him?
I've
You talking about the Fresh Prince?
Yeah, Fresh Prince.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I watched Fresh Prince a lot. I'm just trying to remember the exact one. Oh, I do remember what you're talking about. he came and he thought it was going to be like a big household full of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that episode. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was like that. That how you just depicted that. That was like the feeling that you felt.
Yeah.
Wow.
I had really thought that, not that I was looking forward to like seeing anybody, from that, from my past, but I was still thinking like the family structure was still there. It was so empty, and I was taller, so the house was smaller, and it just was different. So I end up living in a room in the back, like close to my grandma. I had my own room, but I was going through a lot of spiritual warfare, like a lot, from just having done so many drugs to the drinking to the incident that happened with that guy earlier in January of that previous year, and then also just like having to just move forward, and it was like I didn't really want to tell my grandma what happened because I was so ashamed and felt guilty about it, but I kind of told her some bad stuff happened, like it's really hard for me, but eventually I found a job working at the Marriott as a front desk agent, and I worked there for like 6 months. But that was like the first job that like I knew like I'm not like stable and I'm not ready, and because I would cry, like I would show up to work late, I would go in the back and just start crying, and I couldn't talk to men like that, and a whole bunch of stuff. So I told myself, I'm gonna give myself like a year to just like totally like take a break from everything. No sex, no drugs, no alcohol, and just like be engulfed in work. And I did for a whole year, but it didn't really last because like I ended up meeting up with this other guy from like high school times, I should say. And we ended up dating for like a month or two. And I've never been able to keep a relationship because like at the forefront, I'm always being honest about like this incident that happened. Like it really like has affected me and really has like made me feel so low about myself and made me feel like I'm less than because like, like I've been like raped. Like it's just disgusting. And yeah, so that was pretty much like.
So with the new guy, it didn't last long, or?
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
No, none of my relationships lasted long up until like the most recent one.
Yeah.
And even that one is like, there's a lot to go through and think about, but.
Yeah. So you're with your nana now.
Mm-hmm.
And now we come into like basically present moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're coming to now. What is the thing that Gabi in your heart and in your soul, you as a person, what is the thing that you hope for? What is the thing that you want to see as reality in your life and even just around you?
Like right now?
And right now.
Right
yeah.
now? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I have so many I'm just so grateful. Like God has really just kept me. He's protected me through a lot of stuff. I used to be like wild. Like I would do wild stuff. I would sleep with people's boyfriends and babies' daddies and like.
No.
Yeah. Like just had no morals.
Gabi.
Literally, I had no morals. I had no sense of like standards.
Yeah.
So I will say that God has definitely protected me.
Yeah.
So in return, I would like to obviously like do his will, glorify him in everything I do and say, and really just like have a family of my own. I want to settle down. I want to have a husband and kids and be able to, either come home from work or just be a stay-at-home mom and greet my husband every day and just have something stable and nurturing and promising and loving and anything that, God brings to me. Like I just try to always be, intentional about like how can I make this interaction meaningful and memorable. And so instead of like dwelling on the negative and like always being sad about like woe is me and this happened to me and that happened to me and I'm dirty or whatever I just try to remain positive and like remain strong in my faith and really just, you know, like trust in God. And like trusting in God is like the only thing that's like gotten me through. Because I don't know what the future has in store for me. I don't know where to even set my expectations for my future because of like a lot of the things that I've been through. So I don't know where I stand in life.
Yeah.
I'm like, but that's okay. Like,
Yeah.
I don't need to really know as long as God has me, and I know that He has me.